Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Or some of you will say Jai Shri Krishna. Shri. What is Shri? Shri is the energy. So, before we say Krishna, we say Shri. So, energy of Krishna is Radha. Energy of Narayan is Lakshmi. Energy of Ram is Sita. So we always put the energy before the energetic. So we say Sita, Ram, Lakshmi, Narayan, Radha, Krishna. And we also say therefore Jai Shri Krishna. Shri is not just like a Mr. Like we use Mr. So-and-so, Mrs. So-and-so, Shri and Shrimati. But the Shri here indicates something very deep. And instead of Shri, what we say is Hare, because Hare refers to the energy of Krishna. Therefore we say Hare Krishna. Krishna is Hari. Har means to take away. So one who takes away everything inauspicious from our life, he is Hari. That is Lord Krishna. And one who takes away the mind of Hari is Hara, the consort of Krishna. And when Hara is addressed in the vocative form, then it becomes Hare. Just like Narmada, you say Hey Narmade, or Ganga, you say Hey Gange. That's the rule of Sanskrit grammar. When you address feminine gender, it becomes A. So long A, it ends in a long A, then when you address, it becomes A. So Gange, Narmade, Vrinde. But if it ends in E, then it remains E. Tulasi, right? So Radha becomes Radhe. In Vrindavan you will see everywhere, Radhe, Radhe, they all say. On the trees you'll find it written on the walls everywhere, Radhe, Radhe. So whether it's Jai Shri Krishna, whether it's Hare Krishna, so long as we say Lord Krishna's names, that is the important thing. I'm very happy to be here in the house of Hemaji and Shaileshri here after 2 years. I've been here a couple of times before. It's always been a great pleasure. And I'm very happy to see all of you also this evening here. And a pleasant evening, neither too hot nor too cold. Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Radha Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Radha Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Gokulananda, Radha Gokulananda Radhe. Radha Gokulananda, Radha Gokulananda Radhe. Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Jagannatha, Baladeva Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Shri Shri Radha Gokulanand ki Jai, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki Jai, Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Mai ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sakrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padang Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Kauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So we'll discuss something from the Bhagavad Gita today. I'll recite a verse. Would you all like to recite after me?
Yes.
Bhagavad Gita is such an important book for us. It gives us all the important knowledge that we need. If ever you get stranded on an island after a shipwreck or something, hope it never happens, but if that ever happens, this is the one book that you would like to have with you. Always carry it with you wherever you go. In case you get caught in a traffic jam, just open up the book and sit there and read and be peaceful. And don't worry about when the car will move and when the traffic will move on ahead. Once you have this, you'll be peaceful in all situations. How many of you have read Bhagavad Gita? Okay. Very nice. So there's a nice verse in the second chapter. It's the 40th verse. So please repeat after me. Neha bhikramana shosti pratyavayo na vidyate svalpam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat neha bhikramana shosti pratyavayo na vidyate svalpam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat neha bhikramana shosti pratyavayo na vidyate svalpam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Srila Prabhupada translates this verse as follows. In this endeavor, there is no loss or diminution, and a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. Please repeat. In this endeavor, there is no loss or diminution. And a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. There are various types of fear in this world, right? Everyone is subject to fear. No one in this world, even if he is a champion wrestler or boxer or anyone, no one can say with honesty, I have never been afraid of anything in my life. Fear is something that plagues all living entities in this material world. To a lesser or greater degree, some people are freed from it. Some people are very courageous by nature, that is their basic state. They are born like that. Some people may have a more fearful nature from birth. It's just a part of their nature. But whatever it may be, ultimately when it comes to certain situations, there is always fear. And then when there is fear, we tend to remember God. As the proverb goes, there is no atheist in a foxhole. You know what is a foxhole? On a battlefield, when war is going on, soldiers usually dig a hole in the ground and then they place sandbags in the front, and then from behind the sandbags, while they are situated in the hole, they shoot at the enemy. So when you are there in the foxhole and bullets are whizzing by your head, then everybody starts believing in God. Then you're thinking, oh God, please protect me, or please give us victory, whatever. So fear comes at every step in this world. It is unavoidable, inevitable, because that is the nature of this world. Fear comes because of ignorance. Fear comes because of attachment. Fear comes because of some thought of some future calamity or discomfort or pain. So we become fearful of so many things. Fear drives many of our activities. But actually, from Bhagavad Gita we can understand it should not be fear, it should be love for the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna that should drive our activities. In the battle of Kurukshetra, right in the beginning, and that is when the whole Bhagavad Gita was spoken, Arjuna did not want to fight. He put down his bow, his celebrated Gandiva bow, and said, Krishna, I will not fight. How can I kill my relatives in this battle? We have our worshipable superiors like Bhishma, Drona, Kripacharya, whom we have seen since the time we are children. And the entire Kaurava army is practically like our family. So it is unheard of that we should be involved in this mass slaughter of our own respectable people, our relatives, our friends, our worshipable superiors. Imagine what kind of sins I will incur because of doing such a thing. So I don't want to be implicated in sin, O Krishna, because sinful reaction brings a lot of suffering. So out of fear, Arjuna did not want to fight in the battle. And then Krishna had to tell him, no, you have to do your duty. You are fighting against adharma, irreligion. You are fighting against injustice. And since you are a Kshatriya, it is your duty to protect people who are innocent. It is your duty to protect dharma. So you fight because your nature is to be a Kshatriya. So you will always have this tendency of fighting. Today you are declining to fight, but your very nature as a Kshatriya tomorrow will impel you to fight. In some other situation, you'll again pick up your bow and arrow and fight with the very same personalities against whom you are hesitating to fight now. And indeed, you have fought many battles with these very personalities previously. On some occasions there was some of the other circumstance where they had to come face to face in various situations. Arjuna fought against them to rescue the cows of King Virat. So there were episodes like that. So Krishna told him, don't just not fight. Don't take a decision out of fear. Take a decision based on knowledge. Take a decision based on higher understanding of your own nature, of your own goal of life. Take a decision based on dharma, not on your fears and insecurities and anxieties. Many times our decisions in life are based on such fears, insecurities and anxieties. And therefore these are not the best decisions in life. The best decisions in life are those which are taken with a cool head, which are taken on the basis of dharma. In the Ramayana also, there is a very learned discourse on the best decisions. And you know who gives that discourse? Can you guess? Ravan. Yes, Ravana gives that discourse. Actually, he was quite a scholar, Ravana. But you know, scholarship misguided by materialistic tendencies can cause havoc. You know, the greatest damage in the world is not caused by the illiterate, uneducated people. The greatest damage in the world is caused by all the big educated people. Because they are the ones who make all these schemes and plans and inventions and this and that to destroy the world. And they equip those who are evil with all this power. So therefore, it's not just being a scholar. Ravana was a big scholar. But suddenly he started invoking his scholarship at a time when he should have, at least even at this late stage, made amends for his very bad decision of having kidnapped Sita. But his decision to kidnap Sita was not based on knowledge, not based on the understanding of real self-interest. It was not based on dharma. It was just based on some lower tendencies. So when Ram and his army had gathered on the other side of the ocean from Lanka, and the news reached Ravana. Now, and Hanuman by this time had already come and wreaked havoc in Lanka and gone. He had set fire to Lanka. He had killed many of the generals of Ravana. He had also come in front of Ravana and escaped from there, audaciously escaped. So Ravana thought, my God, this one monkey who's representing Ram's army can do this. I don't know what this whole army of the monkeys will be able to do. And then what will Ram be able to do? I have always underestimated Ram because he's just a human being. I thought he's a human being. Of course, Ravana till the end continued to think that Ram was a mere human being. He did not believe or have faith that Ram is actually the Supreme Lord himself, that he is God himself who has descended in the human society for various purposes. Now even Ravana started getting nervous. Such a powerful person as Ravana, in fear of whom the whole universe, even the devatas, the demigods, used to be fearful, who knew nothing like fear generally, because he had powerful benedictions given by the creator Brahma. But that very Ravana now had some signs of fear. What's going to happen now? There is so much at stake. So he called together his generals and his ministers and his advisors. And then he said, look, this is the problem. Now Ram has gathered with his army on the other side, and we have already seen what Hanuman has done. So now we must take a correct decision about what we should do. And as you know, my dear friends, he said, decisions are of three kinds. One decision, the best decision, the supreme decision, superior quality decision is that which is taken on the basis of dharma, after consulting the scriptures. It is taken in consultation with holy people, with wise people. And then the decision is taken with proper application of mind, keeping in mind an outcome that is auspicious and that is for the well-being of everyone. That is the best decision. The medium quality decision is that in which a person doesn't necessarily consult the scriptures. He actually does not consult wise and holy people, saintly people. Rather, he just relies on his own intelligence. And with his own intelligence, he thinks, I am fit to take a decision. I am capable of taking my own decisions in life. I don't need to consult anyone. I don't need to read a book. I have an understanding of what dharma is. I have an understanding of what is right, what is wrong. And I will take a decision according to that. So then, the decision that is taken by such a person is not the best. It could be right, it could be wrong. That's the medium level. The decision that is taken, that is the worst decision of the lowest category, he says, is that where a person very arrogantly says, I don't care for scripture. Who is God? I don't believe in God. This is Ravana speaking, mind you. He's exactly been believing in all this and doing all this. But now he's saying this. A decision taken by a person who is very arrogant, who doesn't believe in God, doesn't believe in dharma, doesn't believe in scriptures, but he takes any decision whimsically, randomly, arbitrarily because it appears to him to be good, because it suits him for that time. And then, even if other people try to dissuade him from that, he remains adamant. And he says, I will do this no matter what. I'm sure you've met people in the first two category. I hope you have not met anybody in the third category. But we have heard of people in the third category. Duryodhana was like that in the Mahabharata. His father Dhritarashtra was actually a good man, not a bad man. But, such is the nature of attachment to one's family members and attachment to one's position, prestige, wealth, etc. in this world, that it distorts our intelligence. It makes us prejudiced. It clouds our power of judgment and discrimination. Attachment is something that can make us take wrong decisions in life. It happens so many times. So Dhritarashtra took fundamentally wrong decisions at each time, and each time the wrong decision was to side with his evil son, Duryodhana. There were so many sensible and wise people in the court of Dhritarashtra. Vidura, Sanjay, Bhishma, and others as well. And they advised him on many occasions, oh dear king, you are not doing the right thing. You must understand what is dharma, what is not dharma. Your son Duryodhana and your other sons along with him are evil. As the king, you should learn to rise above these narrow considerations of somebody being your son and not being your son. You should do what is right, what is according to dharma. And Dhritarashtra would understand and he would say, yes, I will do it. What you're saying is right. He would get swayed because he had that the better side of him was attracted by such advice. He would feel attracted to it. He would feel somewhat convinced. But then when he thought about it, and then again the thoughts of affection for his son and the thoughts of being attached to and losing everything that he had then again started coming into his mind and clouded his intelligence. His fear, of course, was not only that his sons would die or his sons would lose their position on the throne, which of course would have been very painful for him as a father, and the sons led by Duryodhana would have been miserable. That would have also made him miserable. But in addition, he understood that what will be my future? What will happen to me? I will be at the mercy of Yudhishthir. And after having done all this to them and subjecting them to so many injustices, then I will now be at their mercy. Who knows how they will treat me? Of course, Yudhishthir is a virtuous man. He will never do any injustice to me. But nevertheless, I will be at their mercy. So there were selfish considerations. So another important point is that when there is a selfish consideration in mind, one can never take the best decision for ourselves or for those whom we love. So Sanjay, who was the secretary of Dhritarashtra, and he was the one who actually spoke the Bhagavad Gita in the sense that whatever had been happening on the battlefield, Sanjay could narrate. He was narrating it to Vyasadeva. I beg your pardon, to Dhritarashtra. So the whole Bhagavad Gita in the first chapter opens with Dhritarashtra Uvacha. Anyone knows what is the first verse? Dharma kshetre kurukshetre samaveta yuyutsavaha mamakaha pandavas chaiva kim akurvata Sanjaya. So he's asking Sanjay. So the very Bhagavad Gita opens with this verse. Dhritarashtra asks the questions, my dear Sanjay, who was his secretary, his minister, and Sanjay was truly the well-wisher of Dhritarashtra. But Sanjay was also a wise person. So Dhritarashtra asks Sanjay, Dharma kshetre, that is in this Dharma kshetra, the land of Dharma, Kurukshetra, which is named as Kurukshetra, in Kurukshetra, the sons, my sons, Mamakaha means my sons, and Pandavas, the sons of Pandu, have all gathered together to fight. So what did they do? Kimakurvata Sanjaya. Having gathered together on the battlefield, intent to fight, what did they do, O Sanjaya? Not a very intelligent question, because when two armies gather together on a battlefield face to face intending to fight, what will they do? They will fight. Anyway, he asked this question. And then Sanjaya Uvacha. Then Sanjaya said. So Sanjaya is the one who is narrating to Dhritarashtra the conversation that happened. He first describes what's happening on the battlefield, of how Duryodhana wants to survey the Pandava armies, and the Pandavas also want to survey the Kaurava armies. And then the initial reluctance of Arjuna to fight, and then Krishna admonishing Arjuna, you should not say this. You are speaking like a Pandit, but you are not a Pandit. You should not grieve like this. So then Sanjaya starts narrating like a live commentary, like a live telecast actually, or an audio cast, for the benefit of Dhritarashtra who could not see. And he related the whole conversation between Lord Krishna and Arjuna as it happened on the battlefield. So Sanjaya had realized, he had heard from Vyasadeva that Krishna is God. Krishna is the Supreme Lord of all. He is the origin of everything. Now Sanjay understood this, was convinced about this. Dhritarashtra, he went and told Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra was also convinced about it. He understood. Really, our Keshava, whom we have called Keshava and Madhusudan, etc., this Krishna, he is directly the Supreme Lord. So then Dhritarashtra, in one of his better moments, people who are not firmly fixed in spiritual knowledge, their consciousness and their opinions, their intelligence goes on a roller coaster ride. Sometimes they do the right thing, sometimes the wrong thing, sometimes the right thing, sometimes the wrong thing. The mind says one thing, tomorrow next time another thing, then something, and like this. It goes on and on and on. This is the nature of the mind. Sankalpa vikalpa manaha. The nature of the mind is to always accept and reject something. So when he was with good company, with Sanjay, with Vyas, with Bhishma, he was thinking nicely. The moment he came to Duryodhana's company, his mind changed. Such is the nature of Sangha. Sangha means company, association. The moment we step into wrong association, our mind changes. Many times devotees ask the question, all this philosophy sounds so nice when we are sitting here in the satsang. The moment we step out on the road, our mind changes. Well, that's what it is. That is the power of, or the influence of Sangha. Sangha means association, company. So when Dhritarashtra came in front of Duryodhana, because of Duryodhana's negative energy, his negative mindset, his consciousness that was full of envy and hatred and greed and all that, Dhritarashtra also succumbed, invariably. But this time somehow he lasted it out on this one occasion. He said, Duryodhana, come here. Don't you know Krishna is God? He is the Supreme Lord. So stop this and do justice and give the kingdom back to the Pandavas. Give to the Pandavas what is rightfully theirs. Stand on the platform of dharma and you will be happy always in your life. Even Duryodhana's mother, Gandhari, was not happy. She was a very dharmic lady actually. But somehow or the other, what to do? Sons are sons. There is attachment to the sons. So anyway, when Gandhari actually reprimanded Duryodhana very severely, he said, you are so foolish. You are bent on destroying our entire dynasty. I can see this happening. You refuse to listen to reason. We are all trying to explain to you. So many times we have tried to tell you, but you just remain completely adamant. And Duryodhana was a personification of being adamant. Srila Prabhupada narrated a humorous little story one time about how people are adamant when it comes to listening to reason. There were two people and they got into an argument about something. And the argument was about whether it should be a scissor or a knife. Some topic, there was some issue that came up. So one person was saying, no, it's the scissor. The other person said, no, it's the knife. Scissor, knife, scissor, knife, scissor, knife. It went back and forth, each arguing his case. And it became a very heated argument. And it became so heated that finally one of them lost control of himself. The one who was advocating knife, he lost control of himself. He picked up the other person and threw him into the river that was nearby. Now the other person fell into the river. Poor fellow didn't know how to swim. So as he was sinking, he was going down, he was advocating the scissor. So as he was sinking, his head with water, he was sinking up to here, but his hand was still up. So he still raised his hand and did this to indicate the scissor. I will die, but this is the scissor. This is the answer. This is the correct thing. How we can be so adamant. Even death will not make me change my opinion. So Duryodhana was like that. So even though he was admonished so severely by his mother, by his father, by Drona, by Vidura, by Bhishma, but he remained steadfast in his views. The third category of decision. I will do this no matter what. So when Dhritarashtra told him, don't you know that Krishna is God? He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the source of the entire universe. Duryodhana became furious. He said, I don't care if he is the Supreme Lord. I don't even care if by one a glance of his, he destroys the entire universe. But I am clear, I will not give this kingdom to the Pandavas. Let Krishna, let him be God, let him be anything, let him destroy the entire universe, but I will not change my opinion. So we learn lessons in life which are positive and negative. Both types of lessons must be learned. There are always exemplars of both. People who exemplify positive things in life, we should hear about what's good, how we should be, like Yudhishthir Maharaj, for example. The personification of virtue, of dharma, of goodness. So much so that even his brothers and even his wife, Draupadi, would sometimes in the forest, in the exile, accuse him. What is this dharma? To what degree do you want to follow dharma? Just see where your following of dharma has brought us. We are deprived of our kingdom. We have been humiliated. We have lost everything. We have to live in the forest. And Yudhishthir would console them. Don't worry, it will pass. Even in the worst of circumstances, one should not give up one's dharma. The test of a person's character actually is that such a person, even in the worst situations in life, even in times of adversity, does not give up the path of virtue, of dharma. A person's character is tested not in good times but in bad times. Because in good times it's easy for everyone to be good. When things are going your way, it's easy to be generous, to be very kind to everyone. Yes? But when things are not going the way we want it, where there is intense adversity in our life, that is when our character will be tested. So in any case, Duryodhana now was so adamant. He said, no, I will never give this to anybody, to the Pandavas or to anyone. This is my right. And you as a father, how can you tell me this? You as my mother, how can you tell me this? And Vidura, he actually threw him out of the court. And he said, Vidura, if you don't leave this very moment, then we will kill you. You can leave with only your breath. Because you have been our relative and like our grandfather or our father, so I will spare your life, but please leave. So he humiliated Vidura and asked him to leave. So that was the extent of the judgment being clouded, of discrimination and intelligence being spoiled. So in this way, Duryodhana refused. Ultimately, of course, Gandhari's words proved to be prophetic and true. Duryodhana did indeed turn out to be the cause of the destruction of his own dynasty. One person's decision can ruin the lives of millions of people. So the higher we go in life, the more responsibility we have in life, the more careful we should be about decisions we take, because our decisions will affect other people. So in any case, decisions in life should be based on sound knowledge, consulting with people who are wise and holy on the basis of scripture and dharma. So positive examples, negative examples. We learn from both. We learn how to be good and dharmic from certain types of examples like Yudhishthir, and we learn how not to be by looking at examples like Duryodhana, Ravana, etc. One time there was one devotee, one of our devotees, who met one minister in India, in one state, not a national minister, one of the state ministers. And he was telling me he was shocked. He was a businessman, so because of his business they have to meet these ministers sometime. So he said, I was trying to tell him to gift him some Bhagavad Gita, and the minister said, I don't care about this Bhagavad Gita, keep it aside. Let's talk business. Let us talk money. Yes? He must have asked him for a bribe or something, I think. So let us talk business. And then the talk came to, somehow the talk veered to doing things in the right way, dharma. And he said, no. You people criticize Ravana, but what wrong did Ravana do? He liked Sita, he carried her away, so what's the problem? This was a minister speaking, yes? This is the Kali Yuga. Huh? In Kali Yuga, in India. Minister is telling him confidentially, of course, in their private discussion. He liked the lady, he picked her up, took her away. What is wrong in that? And I told him, this gentleman, you should have asked him, what if somebody takes away your wife? What will happen? What will you do? And then I thought and said this, because the person is like this, he speaks like this, who knows, he may even say that is also okay. You never know with these people, So that is the nature. You have many disciples. Duryodhana has many disciples in this world, what to do. Many followers, very popular, that philosophy is very popular. So anyway, the point is that in life we have to take decisions according to dharma, according to knowledge, spiritual knowledge that is given in Bhagavad Gita. So this book is our law book for life. Just as citizens living in any country have to follow certain books of law, you have to have a certain understanding of law. Before you get a license to drive a car, you're put through a test. You have to not only be able to actually drive, you should know all the traffic signs, you should know all the rules and regulations. Maybe even a theory test is taken, isn't it? In England you take a theory test of what the signs mean and so on and so forth. So if you want to live and function in a country, you have to know the laws. You can't say, I was ignorant of the law, I didn't know about it. So ignorance of the law is no excuse. Similarly, ignorance of God's law is no excuse. We cannot face Yamaraj at the time of death and say, my dear Yamaraj, oh dear Yamadutas, I didn't know that such and such was a sin. Because at the time of death, we are going to be answerable, accountable for our actions in life. And Yamadutas will take us to the kingdom of Yamaraj, and there the judgment will happen, and Yamaraj will go through the long list of everything we have done, good and bad. Okay, you have done this sin, this sin, this sin, you have also done this piety, that piety. And therefore, after weighing everything, then the decision will be given in the court of Yamaraj. This will be your next life. So at that time, we cannot plead before Yamaraj, oh, I'm sorry, I did not know. No, that's too late now. You have to bear the consequences of your actions. So therefore, there is always the fear for those people who have some understanding that there is something called the next life. That we are the soul, we are not this body. When this body is destroyed, we will get another birth. And the next birth may be whatever, we don't know. And when they have a basic understanding of dharma, then they know that that next birth can also be in an animal species. It can be a bird, it can be anything. Someone may be a king in one life, and in the next life, he may be a pauper. Or he may not even be a human. He may be an animal or even a tree. When I was in Moscow, actually the same thing may be said here as well, perhaps. It was summertime when I first went. And summer in Moscow is rare. I mean, when the sun is out and when it's warm. London also it's like that, but more so in Moscow. And at that time, people don't dress very decently, isn't it? So somehow I was discussing the laws of karma, that topic. And we were saying how the scriptures say that different types of karma have different results. And, when somebody eats meat, then, you get the body of an animal. somebody likes to sleep a lot, then you get the body of a bear. Things like that. When somebody exposes the body too much, they get a body of a tree. And then I said, now I know the reason why Moscow has so many trees. I suppose the same can be said of some reasons here also. Yes. The moment the sun peeps out the clouds, immediately the weight reduction starts. So, in any case, karmic laws are very strong. So there is some understanding that, there is a next life. That next life may be a, very painful situation. Then one may be an animal or a bird, or it could be anything. A tree even one could become. So that fear is always there in the minds of those people who are pious about the next life. Those who don't have any knowledge of the next life, they don't have fear of the next life because they don't know about it. But their fear is death itself, because they will be deprived of all their attempts at enjoyment in this life. They want to continue their enjoyment always, but that is not possible. So either way, death is a cause of fear. And for those who know a little something, what will happen after death is also a kind of fear. So that is what Lord Krishna is referring to in this verse. Trayate mahato bhayat. Mahato bhayat, bhaya means fear. Mahat means big fear, the greatest type of fear. So Krishna is saying everybody is afraid of death and afraid of what will happen after death. But there is something, trayate mahato bhayat, there's something that can free us, that can liberate us from this biggest fear. And what is that? That is this dharma, this devotion to Lord Krishna, this path of bhakti to Lord Krishna. If we serve Lord Krishna, if we follow this path of Bhagavad Dharma, then automatically we will be protected from the greatest fear. Neyahabhikramanashosti pratyavayo na vidyate svalpam apyasya trayasya. So this dharma, this Bhagavad Dharma, this path of Bhakti Yoga, if one partakes of this, if one does this even a little bit, one will be protected from the greatest fear, from the fear of death and from the fear of the next life. And Srila Prabhupada mentions in some places that one will be protected from taking birth in a lower species of life at the very least, in general. There may be exceptions, but this is a general rule. That if one does even a little devotional service to Lord Krishna, one goes ahead even a little bit on the path of Bhakti Yoga, one serves the Lord even a little bit, at least one is assured of a human birth in the next life. One will at least not get an animal body or a tree body or something like that. So this is a very, very reassuring statement from Krishna. Because when we get another human body, then we have a chance again to perform our spiritual activities. Otherwise, we don't have a chance. In a tree body, what kind of conscious dharmic activity can we do? Similarly, as an animal or a bird, what can we do consciously? It's not possible. But as a human being, we have the capacity to do that. So therefore, by rendering a little bit of service, at least one will get a human birth. In that human birth, one will get the opportunity to continue our devotional activities from where we left off in the previous life. If one did, let's say, 2% in the last life, then in this life we will be able to begin from 2%, not from 0%. Then one does something more, maybe up to 20%. Then in the life after that, one starts from 20%, not from 2% or 0%. And this goes on for several lives till we become very staunch devotees. And then there is no going back. then when we become pure devotees of Lord Krishna, then we don't have to take birth again in this material world. One will go back to the spiritual world. That is the perfection of our life. Brahma bhuvana loka punaravartino arjuna mam upetyatu kaunteya punarjanmana vidyate. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, from the topmost planet in the universe, Brahma Loka, right down to the smallest living entity and all the other planets in this world, all are places of birth and death. But one who comes to me, to my abode, O Arjuna, never has to return to this material world, which is full of suffering. But if you are reborn, not just on earth, but on any other planet in the universe, you still have to take birth again and again. However, by becoming a pure devotee of Krishna, by attaining spiritual perfection, one will get liberated from the cycle of birth and death, and one can go to Lord Krishna's abode from where there is no need to return. One will live with him in complete knowledge, in complete bliss eternally. One will revive one's own Satchidananda nature. Sat means eternal, Chit means full of knowledge, Ananda means full of bliss. So this is the benefit of doing devotional service. There is a kind of logic in Sanskrit that is called Kaimutya Nyaya. Kim Uta. Like if this much, so much. If this is done, the result is so much. Then if that is done, the result will be how much more. Let's say there's a student who studies just a little bit and gets very good marks. So the parents will say, just by studying this much, you got, 70%. Imagine if you studied that much, how much would you get? You would get 90%, something like that. So just by doing this, you got this much. By doing more, you'll get so much more. So that's called the Kaimutya Nyaya. So here also we can understand, by doing a little devotional service, Swalpam apyasya. Swalpam means very little. So just by doing a little devotional service, one gets a human birth again. One is protected from taking birth in the lower species. One gets the opportunity to continue one's devotional activities in the next life. Just by little devotional service, imagine what will happen if we become pure devotees. We will go back to the spiritual world and no need for all the miseries of our life that plague us in our existence in this world. So this is the message Lord Krishna is giving us through this verse. Material accomplishments will not sustain. They will not carry forward to the next life. If one has earned £1 million in this life, it's not necessary that one may be born again in a family that has £1 million, or that I will be able to earn £1 million. As I mentioned earlier, according to one's karma, one may not even be born as a human. One may be born as a tree in a millionaire's home. That may be okay. Because of attachment to being a millionaire. So we become a tree in the house of a millionaire, in the courtyard of a millionaire. But one may not become a millionaire. But spiritual things can be carried forward. You've done little this much today in this life, take it to the next life and continue this. So the intelligent person will ask, why should I do this carry forward business life after life? It's still risky. Better to finish off this business in this life. Better to do not just swalpamapyasya dharmasya, not just a little swalpa dharma, but to do serious devotional activity. Then one need not be born again in this world. So if one understands the importance of human life, if one understands the importance of books like the Bhagavad Gita, then one will be able to take the correct decisions in life. Whether they are small decisions or big decisions. So this is our book that we would like to have, as I mentioned in the beginning. If we are ever stranded on the proverbial island after a shipwreck, Or in London, you can say the closest that comes to it when you're stranded on the traffic jam. Carry this with you always. Read it whenever you can. Read it when you feel down. Read it when there's trouble in your life. Read it when you feel happy. Read it when you're sad. Read it in all circumstances. Read it every day and make your life successful. Is it a good proposal?
Yes.
So please accept this proposal and make your life happy and perfect. So Hemaji and Shailaji, thank you very much for hosting us this evening. It's always a pleasure coming here to your lovely house and to see a wonderful temple. And to every one of you, thank you very much for coming this evening and for being a very patient audience and a very faithful audience. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
If there are any questions, I'll be happy to take them. What is the time, by the way?
8:40.
8:40. Okay.
Also,
Yes.
Maharaj, we've got Bhagavad Gita if anybody wants to take
Okay,
them.
here you are. There's Bhagavad Gita to make the decisions in life, best decisions in life. Yes.
Thank you very much. I have a question. You mentioned how Krishna is giving all these options that are very encouraging for us. It's just a little bit of advancement protects us. And then he also speaks about the unsuccessful yogi. And then he talks about that particularly in these times we're living in, the divine and the demoniac exist within the same person. So my question with all of that in mind is, how does that unsuccessful yogi, the one who thinks they're unsuccessful, deal with guilt on the process? A guilt that is healthy and a guilt that is destructive and, kind of has a way of weighting one down, that they can't make that next step and a positive step. So could you kind of elaborate on that a little bit, please?
So the question is that when there's a person who is unable to complete the process in this one life, and there is a sense of guilt for the unsuccessful yogi, so how should the yogi deal with this guilt? The guilt could be a positive kind of guilt, or it could be a destructive kind of guilt. Well, first of all, it's never too late. Even if the yogi, of course he's alive to think of such things. So when he's alive or she is alive and they're thinking, well, I have a long way to go and I haven't done this seriously enough so far, and there's a feeling of guilt, but guilt is useful so long as it doesn't bog us down, so long as it doesn't get us to the point of being depressed and feeling helpless and hopeless. Guilt can be positive in the sense that it can spur us to do the right thing better. So if we feel, oh, I really haven't done it seriously, I feel guilty, I should have been doing this, let me do it now, and that helps us to become more determined to do the right thing, then it's all right to feel that sense of guilt. But not the kind of guilt that will tie us down into despair and negativity. So, to that degree, that little sense of guilt is a good thing. But we have to be careful that we don't become victims of that guilt going out of control. Then it will be very negative. Any other questions? Yes.
Very much. If a person finds themselves in that situation, then how do they get out? Because that's the spiral down, isn't it? So
if a person finds himself in that situation, then there's a downward spiral. How does one get out of it? By association. By wise company. Company is infectious. the consciousness is also infectious, because consciousness comes through company. You keep company with people who have a certain type of consciousness, that consciousness rubs off on you. So if you keep company, if whoever is feeling like this keeps company with people like that, then that person will be enabled to be lifted out of that downward spiral, to come up again and take a positive approach in life. So in Krishna consciousness, in this path of Bhagavad Dharma, it's always a positive path. It's always a path of hope, never a path of despair and hopelessness, even in the face of guilt, even in the face of defeat and failure. Because an aspiring yogi, a bhakti yogi, will definitely face failures at every step. There will be occasions. And actually in this purport to this verse itself, Srila Prabhupada cites one verse about a fallen yogi, where Narad Muni says, is from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Tyaktva swadharmam charanam bhujam harer bhajanna pakvo tapatet tato yadi yatrakva va bhadram abhuda mushyakim ko vapta arthum abhajatam swadharmataha. Very important verse, in which Narad Muni tells Vyasadeva, my dear Vyasadeva, the process of devotional service is very wonderful. Even somehow or the other, after doing devotional service for a certain period of time, for some reason, the practitioner falls away from the path, gives up the process. Still, what has he lost? Because whatever he has gained on the spiritual path will always remain to his credit. It can never be taken away from him. And he will continue on that in some future time, either in this life or in the next life. Definitely. It will never be lost. So what has he lost? Narad Muni says, even if someone falls away, not that we should take that as an inducement to move away from the path, but he's talking about a situation in which someone may hypothetically fall away from this path, but Narad Muni's reassurance is, what is the loss? What has he lost? Because materialistic people may say, well, you lost years of work, time in which you could have enjoyed so much of this world, but that is all transient, it's all temporary. So what you have lost is nothing, it's insignificant. But what you have gained is enormous. On the other hand, he says, for a person who has not taken to the path of devotional service, who may have done everything else in the world in a very admirable way, admirable from the point of view of other materialistic people, what has he gained? Because at the time of death, everything will be taken away. So actually speaking, that person has gained nothing. But even if a person falls away, becomes a fallen yogi, still that person is always the gainer at the end. So therefore we can see this is a path of such positive hope. There is no place for despair in this path. Yes? Yes.
Maharaj, it's a very reassuring message that even little can go a longer way. But the question is, how do you know where you are, in the sense that whether you're 2% or 20%? Because if you don't know where you are, you don't know what's the gap. And then you don't know how much more effort you need to put in. So how do you get to know that?
Okay. So the question is that it's very reassuring to know that there is always hope for us. But how do we know where we stand in terms of 2%, 20%, where we are? That's why you need your navigational tools. The other day I was speaking about the GPS. Yeah, you need, when you go from one place to another place, your GPS will tell you, in another 20 minutes you'll reach there. You've gone so many miles, you have so many more miles to go, you're in this direction, and the GPS will also tell you, how to go, if the road is blocked, how to take another route. So you'll have someone very insistent telling you, go left, 100 meters, turn left. So if you obey, then you make it. So just like you have a GPS, what's it? Geo-positioning system, right? Isn't it? You have a GPS. So also for us as devotees, we don't have the GPS, we have the GSS. The Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. The Guru and the Sadhus are those, the previous Gurus in the Parampara, in the disciplic succession. Shastra means scriptures like Bhagavad Gita. So that is our navigational tool. So when we read, we understand what are the symptoms. How should I judge? We may not be able to judge with mathematical precision, 2, 20, 15, but we get a sense of where we are. Some degree of understanding of where we stand. There are symptoms. Just as there are symptoms of a disease, and you can understand the degree of your cure from the disease by seeing to what degree you've got relief from the symptoms. Yes? So in the same way, the symptoms of the material disease are there. To what degree have I got relief from the symptoms? Sometimes the relief is illusory. It gives you a false sense of confidence. The patient feels better and then exerts himself. All of a sudden, again, there's a relapse. So we have to be cautious of illusory relief from the symptoms also. Prematurely just doing things, thinking, okay, now I'm fine. I can do so many things. So by studying these scriptures and by hearing the discourses, having discussions spiritually, etc., by following these spiritual practices, we will be able to understand where we are and how long we have to go. We need a very clear understanding of the destination. What the destination is precisely, not just generally. And the specific destination must be known. And we must also have the proper guidance as to how to get there. Okay? Yes.
Maharaj, sometimes if you're following the scriptures or trying to follow the instructions, especially when it comes to tolerating at work or other places, you find that, how far should you go to tolerate or forgive and forget about things? Is it Krishna testing you, or sometimes it just brings you down in your spiritual thing that, you're tolerating so much, or you're going, out of your way to do things? And is it Krishna who's testing you, whether you have to rise up, or should we kind of stop somewhere?
Okay, so your question is that at the place of work there may be circumstances,
or even in life.
Okay, in life there may be circumstances which are unpleasant, and how much should we tolerate? Yes? It depends what those circumstances are. It depends on what it is that you are asked to tolerate, and to what degree you have to tolerate, what degree are you expected to tolerate, and what choices do you have. Again, decision. Yes? So for decision you need the wisdom of the scripture. So you have to have the knowledge to be able to understand that in this situation what should be the best course of action. What should I do? Sometimes you may need to tolerate it. Sometimes you need not tolerate it. And then you also have to think of what would be the appropriate course of action. Yes? Regardless, whatever may be the case, there will always be occasion when we have to do both. In the sense that some situations will always be there where you must tolerate. Other situations where it's clear you should not tolerate. And the problem is with in-between cases, borderline cases where you don't know, should I not? That is the problem area, where you need more wisdom. Some cases are clear, you have to tolerate. Isn't it?
Yeah.
You have no choice in that. You have to do it. In some cases, definitely you shouldn't tolerate.
how
It's clear.
discriminate? That is the thing.
So for the middle ones,
Sometimes people start taking advantages.
yeah, so then you have to, that's why you need to decide. You need that wisdom. You don't take advantage of others, but don't be taken advantage of by others also. Don't exploit, but don't be exploited. So that calls for wisdom, application of scriptural knowledge in practical day-to-day situations. So I cannot give you a general answer. It will depend on the specific cases. Okay? All right, yes.
Is one bad more powerful or 99 good are powerful?
Say that again.
Is one bad person or one bad powerful or 99 good powerful?
Is one bad person powerful or 99 good people more powerful? It depends on whether the bad of the bad person is more powerful than the good of the good. The goodness of the good. If the bad person, his badness is so great, so powerful, that it overcomes the goodness of the good people, then yes, that one person that is more powerful than the 99. But the reverse works as well. The reverse is one good person can be more powerful than 99 bad persons. If his goodness is more powerful than the sum total of the badness of the 99 people. If you see, this principle works for major changes in the world, for good or bad. You may have one political leader, let us say, who causes enormous harm to the world. But that one person is able to do so much. His badness has become so powerful, it overpowers others. Not only is it more powerful than the goodness of the good, but it also makes the good bad, or helpless at the very least. But then you could have one person who is so good that his goodness overwhelms everyone else. And that is typically the quality of saintly people. Great saints in history have shown that by their example. Change is invariably brought about by individuals. The biggest changes are brought about by individuals who drive others to act or think in a certain way. For the good or for the bad? That's another question. Yes? So this is the power of an individual. So we as individuals should not think, oh, it's just me alone, what can I alone do? You can do a lot. If we increase a sense of goodness in us, then we can influence more and more people. There may be 2, 5, 10, 100, 1,000. Expand your circle of influence by your goodness, by your Krishna consciousness, your spiritual consciousness. Then we can all become beacons of light and beacons of hope for this dark world. Correct? Yes.
We hear that Yudhishthira was asked to say that Ashwatthama has died before the sunset. We also hear that Ram was made to make a choice when the washerman said things about Sita, so he had to make a choice about what to do with Sita. So often we hear discourses and we hear that we have to discriminate between good and bad. And for most of us, that's relatively easy. We know what is absolutely wrong, we know what's absolutely right. The problem comes when we have to differentiate between right and right. So how do we decide when there are two rights and then we have to make a decision on that basis? Of course, not two wrong, but two rights. So what would be the principle on that?
Your question is, it's easier to decide between right and wrong, but it's harder to decide between two rights. Then there is a question of weightage. weight. We always weigh things before we take decisions. Every decision is based on a weighing system. You ascribe weights to it in your mind. Maybe not a quantifiable weight, but there is some weight. This is heavier. So we have to choose this right as compared to this right. Dharma also is like that. The ways of dharma are mysterious, complex, and very difficult to comprehend and difficult to apply. That's why the kings in the olden days had always ministers of Brahmins, of sages who would advise them, because there were always situations where they were in a dilemma. Both seem to be right. Or which is the right decision to take? Is it this one? Is it this one? So you have to see the weight of the decision.
And how do you ascribe that weight?
That is where wisdom comes. That is where the wisdom comes. That is where the experience comes. The knowledge, the purity of heart, the purity of intelligence. Then one understands how strong is this weight. The ability to understand, analyze, not just material intelligence. There is some spiritual understanding and intelligence that goes behind it. You see the relative weights. What should be done? Of course, it's a big topic. There are many stories like this, but then we will have to sit through the night. But in short, that's the thing. Yes?
Can I ask a question on a lighter note, please? I mean, some of it you already mentioned, but like on the battlefield in Mahabharata, Lord Krishna he gave guidance to Arjuna and prepared him to fight for good over the evil, etc. In today's UK, if Lord Krishna is around, how would he solve the problem of Brexit?
See, we are interested in Mexit. Mexit means exit from the material world. Exiting from the European Union, etc. Whatever be the problems, whether you stay, whether you go, still you're going to have problems. They're not going to go away. Birth, death, old age, disease will remain. Miseries of human beings will remain. So what we are concerned with is exit from the material world. Britain exit from the Union? No. We are talking of exit from the material world. Get out of the cycle of birth and death, go back to Lord Krishna's kingdom. That is our formula. Krishna would have said, Brexit, no Brexit, doesn't matter. You exit the material world, come back to me. That's the real solution to all the problems. Okay? All right. Yes.
Just got a question saying that everything is going smoothly according to Dharma, whatever way we are progressing right now. But suddenly something happens in your life and you're shaken up and bewildered. How would you control that? It's so difficult.
Well, things are going along according to Dharma, but then suddenly something happens to shake us up. And how would one face that? One gets bewildered. But that is not something unusual. It's inevitable.
But every time we say it's our karma, we blame karma.
Blaming karma means blaming ourselves. Right? Because we have done the karma in the past and we are getting the results. So we have no one to blame except ourselves. So this situation is a situation with every single living entity in this world. Out of the blue, unexpectedly, some things come into your life. Suddenly. For no good reason. Accidents come. Something suddenly happens. Out of the blue, somebody comes and suddenly tells you something, uninvited, and leaves you thinking for days, why did this person tell me like this? Or something more tragic happens, in the sense some loss may happen or something. So that's the way of this world. Lord Krishna explains this world has been designed for inflicting difficulties and miseries upon us, one after the other. There is a relentless onslaught of these miseries, never giving up, just as there are waves in the ocean, one after the other. To expect that the waves will stop is an illusion. It will never stop. Yes? So similarly, the waves of troubles will come one after the other. We should never expect realistically that these waves will stop. But the point is, we should not just get into a state of despair. We have the solution here. The solution is Krishna consciousness, to become devotees of Krishna. Bhakti Yoga. So this is the solution. And when we take up to this practice, automatically many of the miseries, we are protected from them because of the lifestyle we lead. When we lead a very materialistic lifestyle, we increase the chances of unnecessary miseries coming into our lives. Here at least we reduce that. You know? And then, ultimately, of course, even as you're living, you experience happiness, a sense of meaning, purpose in your life. Internally, you feel very happy doing the service to Lord Krishna. And then when the time comes to leave the body, we are fearless and we will go back to Krishna. We don't have to come here in this world again. So these other issues will keep coming in our life. And they're very rude. They don't take permission before coming into our life. They don't knock on the door and say, "May I come in?" They just break open your door and come in. That's how miseries in life are. So we have to be always prepared, but not afraid. Because we have the best protection. The devotion to God, to Lord Krishna, is our best protection. Yes?
Thank you.
Yes.
So if we agree that the Lord is generous and magnanimous, so why does He put us into situations whereby He is either testing us or challenging us? Why are we, why are we being given birth with a baggage? Why can't we have, to say, coming in with a clean slate, if you are actually magnanimous and say, there you go, live the life that I believe you should be living? Why does He challenge us?
So your question is, if God is really magnanimous and generous, why doesn't He give us a clean slate? Why does He have to put us through all these challenging situations? Yes? Because He loves us and He wants us to make progress and elevate ourselves. Why does a teacher or a school subject the students to examinations? Any students like exams? Remember your school days. Did you like exams?
No.
But why? Is the teacher being cruel? Is the teacher, by nature, does the teacher love the child? Yes. Is the teacher generous and magnanimous to a student? Yes. But why is she so cruel that she has to put the child to test and exam and so harsh? Why is that? Because it's for good. It is an opportunity to progress. The clean slate is there in the beginning. Then you get something written on it. You go to the next year. You have what you learnt in the previous year. You have that knowledge. You learn 2 times 2 is 4. Now you come to the next grade and they'll teach you some more multiplication, more division, something more advanced. Then you go ahead. So we can't start with a clean slate. We have to start with what we have done in the past. But let's say there's some student who has not been a good student and is neglected his studies, and so the slate has ignorance on it. So when it comes to grade 4, grade 5, then it's more difficult to do things. So also, our life is a continuous process in this world of many, many lives. Our existence in this world comprises many lifetimes. So we've got these experiences coming in from all our previous lives. Now Lord Krishna is giving us an opportunity to make advancement, especially now that we have this human form of life. Take advantage of this to come out of school, pass out of school. How long do we want to remain in the school? Yes? One day we have to pass out of high school and go out. Imagine a student who says, keeps failing the exams and is in the 6th grade of school forever. 7th grade, 6th grade, goes back to 5th grade, 4th grade, again in 7th grade. So frustrating. So we should pass out of high school, graduate and move out. Similarly, we should also pass out of these 8.4 million species of life and go back to Krishna's kingdom. Right? Okay, so we'll stop here. Shall we have 5 minutes of kirtan? Do we have time for that? Or we have the abhishek, right? Or pushpa abhishek?
Yeah.
So we'll do the kirtan at that time. Yes? Okay. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki